Hello internet world and welcome to a new Q&A. We are live on the internet for this live Q&A. This is an Ask Me Anything, and I've also left doing this broadcast a little bit later on in the day because many of you asked to actually be able to join me after you get in from work in the UK. So hopefully you will all be here in the live broadcast asking me some really cool questions. I've also got some little updates for you and a product I want to show you as well in this broadcast, and I'll give you a little bit of an update on this very shortly. This is the OnePlus 5T that I unboxed and gave you my first impressions of just yesterday, and it was so funny. Not funny as in me laughing at you guys, but the reaction I got to the thumbnail that I put to accompany yesterday's video was really interesting. The reaction I get from some of my thumbnails is always quite interesting to read the comments about, and obviously the tweets. But some people weren't too happy with that thumbnail, and if you haven't seen it, then check out yesterday's unboxing and first impressions of the OnePlus 5T. I will say no more. I will only say that you should check it out and see what all the fuss was about. And this was just me unboxing a smartphone that I wanted to enjoy, this one here, the OnePlus 5T, and me sort of sharing my opinion with you again that maybe this full screen in a rectangular fashion, albeit with slightly curved corners, very slightly on this one, is better to have this full screen experience. So I'll talk to you a little bit more about my experience so far with the OnePlus 5T in a moment. Today's video is Q&A. It's live, ask me anything, but please do keep the questions clean and appropriate for a family audience. If you do want your question highlighted or your comment highlighted, then there is the super chat feature available to you as well, so you can use that. And I will try and answer as many questions as I can. So again, thank you to everyone who's tuned in. A little bit of sort of housekeeping first of all. The broadcast I did yesterday, I was using some new software. There were some issues with the audio in that. I have been troubleshooting it pretty much for about 3 to 4 hours, playing around with the software, tweaking settings, working out how it works properly. It seems like the layering I was doing in the software the other day was causing problems with the audio. Certain sections of it had peaks in the audio, some sections of it had some sort of echo. So that was the issue just yesterday. Also, before we jump into the Q&A, which I know a lot of you are waiting here to ask questions, but I will come to you very, very shortly. I will give you my update on the OnePlus 5T so far, because it may well answer some of the questions that you're already posing. So this is the OnePlus 5T. This is what I unboxed yesterday. It's a 6-inch Google Android smartphone, 8 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of storage, Snapdragon 835 processor, 20 megapixel and 16 megapixel cameras on the rear. I have now, I don't know if you can see this, it's looking a little bit different from yesterday's video because I've now installed all of my software. If I swipe up, you can see my apps are filling up there. I have been testing both the camera, I've also been tweeting, I've been using Instagram, I have been checking out Amazon on here as well because there are some decent Black Friday deals coming up tomorrow. And for the most part, I've been finding it really good. In fact, for the whole part, I've been finding it really good. After I did that live broadcast, because I whizzed through the setup procedure with you in yesterday's video, I did a complete factory reset and started again. Also, as well as adding my face for Face ID, I also added a fingerprint. So let me just tap on the back there to unlock, and you can see it unlocks very, very easily indeed. If I didn't want to tap that, again, let's put it over here. So I'm not going to use the fingerprint. I'm just going to look at the screen and it unlocks pretty much instantaneously. Here it's not unlocked, and when I look at it, it is now unlocked. So very, very quick. So it's working very well for things like that. I also took some photos. I did share these on Twitter, by the way. Let me show you the more recent one. So I took this photo here, which was just of something There we go, which was just something on one of my shelves. That came out very well. I also took this. This is of my Funko Pops, which are over there behind me on the shelf. And I also took this one, which is also behind me on the shelf there. This is of my Lego camper van. And one of those, in fact this one, was in less than optimal lighting conditions, and I think the camera looks fine. I had a few people say, well, the camera on this is never going to surpass the iPhone. It's pretty near. I don't think the dynamic range is quite up with the iPhone 8 Plus or the iPhone 7 Plus, but I haven't tested it out in sort of the outdoors yet, and that's a good test when you get sort of clouds in the sky. Normally bad cameras blow out the highlights and keep you in the right exposure setting, so that's going to be the really good test, is when I actually test that when it's out and about, you know. So that's going to happen over the next few weeks. But I've put a lot of my software on here now, as I mentioned, enjoying Flamingo, enjoying Instagram. I haven't charged this again since the live broadcast. I did use it to install all of these apps yesterday and also do those tweets and take the photos, and we're currently residing on 77%. Not too shabby, not too shabby at all. Also, just one other thing before I come on to your questions. Something I really appreciate on this, which I've currently got turned off, but I will turn it on. There is a switch on the side, and I can turn that up, so I can switch it on, and that silences the phone, so I'm going to get no notifications or no audible notifications from the OnePlus 5T. I really like that because I've been used to having that on my iPhone. And then one last thing, somebody else said to me in one of the comments, and I take all comments really well, you know, I don't take them bad or negatively at all, but somebody said, I bet you're still using an iPhone when you're off camera and you're only using this when you're on camera. That is indeed still the case. I'm still carrying this. This is still my daily driver. By the weekend, I'm going to be switching my SIM card over to this, and this will become my secondary phone. Won't even have a SIM card in it because I've only got one SIM card. So in fact, it will just become a dumb device that I'll use for various things. I'm going to keep this so I can experience iOS, but this will then become my daily driver from the weekend onwards. And we'll see how that goes. I am still expecting the HTC U11 Plus in, and I'll share my opinion with you about that particular smartphone as well. And whichever one has a better camera performance, really, or overall experience, but I think the usability is going to be roughly the same. Whichever one becomes the best out of those two will find its way into my pocket. So that is it for my update on the OnePlus 5T. Now let's jump into the chat. And as I mentioned before, the super chat is there. If you want to use the super chat, then please do. That will highlight your question. But I'll go through and just see if I've got any questions. We're primarily looking for questions. So Igor Goldstein, do you think the Note 8 is a better device and provides a better experience than the iPhone 10 and Pixel 2 XL? Well, I've experienced the Galaxy Note 8 from Samsung. I've also experienced the iPhone 10, and I haven't experienced the Pixel 2 XL. I would say that the Note 8 was a very good experience. Better, that's subjective, but it had a really nice screen, really good performance. The only reason I didn't stick with it, in comparison to this, this feels nice and balanced. It's sort of evenly balanced in the hand. Still a tall device, but the Note 8 to me just felt a little bit top heavy for me. But some people like that, and you might also like the added functionality of the S Pen as well. Is it better? I can't really say. The camera on it was fantastic. I would say from what I've seen online, the camera is on par with the Pixel 2 XL and on par with the iPhone 10. Is it better? Probably not. It's probably equal. I know that's not the answer you want to hear, but that's the honest answer. It's probably equal. Chris Bryson says, have you moved the SIM into the OnePlus 5T? See, this is what I knew would happen because I'm going back on questions. Chris, I remember you tweeting me some information as well, or putting it into a comment, which was very, very helpful. So thank you for that. The SIM is going in at the weekend. Deans is watching the live stream via his iPad Air 2. Awesome. Geek Shraven, why are you not reviewing Asus phones? Well, I have requested them. The Zenfone range is of great interest to me. I really do like the look of the Asus Zenphones. And I reach out to them. They normally send me their press releases, and I normally reply back and say, yeah, if you want to send me a loan device, I'll be really happy to take a look at it for a couple of weeks and then share my opinion. And they normally say there's limited devices available. So Asus, if you are watching, or Asus as many people call them, please do get in touch. I'd be really happy to take a look, because I've heard good things about battery life and also really good things about camera performance. I have reviewed one or two on the channel before, but this is going back quite some time. But I can only review the devices that come in. I can't afford to purchase them all. David James, don't know why people get bent out of shape. It's only a device and people are entitled to their opinions. I'm an Apple guy, but I wouldn't have a go at people who prefer Android devices. Well said. Everyone has their own preference, and I hope that you just tune in to hear my take on a device, and also to discuss how we're experiencing them. That's what these sort of live broadcasts are all about. It's not about me enforcing my opinion on you. It's just about me sharing what I've experienced. So really good point, David. Very, very good point. MyDenv06, have you ever used Bitcoin? No, I haven't. Quarkcoin I have got, but not Bitcoin, unfortunately. However, I do wish I did have a few stashed away, most definitely. Wow, that price is skyrocketing. Unbelievable. David Hepworth, do you think it will be your daily driver at half the price of the iPhone 10? It's a great phone. I could buy, good point there, David. I could buy two of these, one for myself, one for another member of the family, for the same price as one iPhone 10. Will it be my daily driver? It's too early to say whether it's going to stick with me as my daily driver, because I've got the HTC U11 Plus coming in. But certainly, if the HTC U11 Plus doesn't meet my expectations, then this will be my daily driver, because I think it's working really well. I even tried the front-facing camera. Cameras are really important to me, as is overall performance and battery life. But I tried the cameras, both rear-facing and front-facing, as a priority for me to test, and so far I've been really happy. So either one of those two will be my daily driver. This is a really good contender, though. Very, very good contender. The only thing I need is a receipt, because I purchased this, and said company, you may have seen me tweet out about this, but the said company that I purchased this from don't give receipts. Mind-blowing. David Hepworth, you can change the settings so you can swipe up to unlock like the iPhone for better security. Yes, you can. Another thing that I added on this, I think this was from a tip from Chris, is you can change the settings for the home button as well. So I can double tap the home button to lock the phone, which is good, because it's quite a tall phone. Sometimes I miss the power button. So there are lots of customization you can do. Raymond Moore, how are you liking your OnePlus phone so far, Dave? Well, I'm liking it a lot. I am liking it. It's growing on me. As I say, I've got all my apps installed. I haven't configured them all yet. That's going to take some time. Things like my Authenticator app, but I've been using it for what I described in the beginning part of this video, and I'm liking it so far. Really am liking it. Very, very good experience. The unexpected, do you think the Google Home is far superior to the Amazon Echo in terms of giving detailed searches? Yes, I do. Most definitely. I have tested Siri, of course, on my iPhone, and I've tested the Amazon Echo, which I used for, I'd say, between 6 and 12 months exclusively. Then I introduced the Google Home Mini into my setup, and I've had that probably about a month now, and it is fantastic. It really is. I've got one sitting on a shelf just here behind me in the chalky colour, and I've also got the charcoal colour one in the studio, and they give far better search results in my experience. Maybe I'm just not doing it right with the Amazon products, but I really do like the Google Assistant and, Google Home Minis. Really very, very good value as well. Chris Riley, good afternoon Dave. I have a 1998 Sony Vaio Windows Vista laptop. Can you recommend a Windows PC laptop or a netbook? Many thanks. Well Chris, it depends on your budget, of course. I've been doing a lot of research because I've got an interest in the Microsoft Surface Book 2. Very expensive laptop. I think the entry level point is around about the £1,500 range. The Microsoft Surface laptop is more affordable, and I've heard very good things about that. And also, we mentioned the company Asus earlier on. The ZenBook Pro, also I've heard very good things about that. So I'd be looking at either of those two, perhaps. Also, of course, we got the Dell XPS range, and that's very highly regarded. The XPS 13 was regarded as one of the best laptops this year, and so maybe that should take some consideration as well. Not my area of expertise though, so it really depends what you're looking for in the laptop. Gola97 with a very good question. When's your razor coming? Now, I know I haven't shaved. I was a bit too lazy to shave today, but Gola is actually referring to the Razer phone, Google Android phone from Razer, the gaming company. I have been promised one. I have chased it on numerous occasions, and I really want to experience it. I want to see that 120 Hz screen. I also want to see if the camera is as bad as some reviewers are saying. So hopefully soon. I will chase it again as soon as this broadcast ends, because I've been asked numerous times and I really would love to share my experience about it. Hamid Hatawi, do you like Android or Apple? Well, at the moment I'm in that transition period for my smartphone, switching from iOS to Android. I do use an iPad Pro for media consumption and also for some creation as well, and I use Mac OS as my chosen platform for video editing and indeed running these broadcasts. So I use both platforms and appreciate both of them equally. Steve Franklin 72, you should get the LG V30, best phone of the year. I have heard good things about it. Too late for me to probably cover that now, unless LG want to send one out. Anthony Kelly, my friend just broke the rear glass on his iPhone 10, £360 to replace. That is almost criminal. That is ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. I think the clue there, or the tip there, is if you are getting an iPhone 10, is definitely to get the insurance either offered by Apple, or indeed get your own insurance that will cover you from damage to the front and the back. And you might have an excess on your insurance of £50 or £100, but £360 is absolutely ridiculous to have to pay to replace your phone. Another example or another point to make, £360, the OnePlus 5T, you could buy a whole new smartphone. These start at £449. I just can't believe Apple are charging that to replace the screen. That is absolutely ridiculous. Now, really good question from Deans6571. What's the best Black Friday deal you found? Dean, if you check out, I'm going to put it in the chat. If you go follow at Geek Discounts on Twitter, that is my dedicated Twitter stream to the Black Friday deals. Also, if you head on over to the Geekanoids website, which is at geekanoids.co.uk, all of the deals, tech deals, every single day, and I've done this for the past 3 years. Every day in the morning I spend an hour or so sharing out the best deals, either on Geek Discounts Twitter or on the Geekanoids website. The best Black Friday deals, I've got 2 videos already up, one for the UK and one for the USA, which were my early Black Friday deals. I've also got, and I'm really pleased you asked about this, I've got 2 more videos planned tomorrow. They will be in the morning, so round about 8 AM GMT, possibly a little bit earlier, but round about then, and I will be highlighting the best Black Friday deals I found so far. Now, I can't share what they are in this broadcast because I am under embargo, but there are some really good ones, some really good televisions, also some really good earphones. One I can share with you now, which is already live, and again, if you check out the @Geek Discounts Twitter, I did share this earlier. is I believe it's about 33% off of a Seagate 2TB external portable hard drive, and it brings it down to around about £56 for the hard drive, which is a really good value. Now, I'm personally expecting to order tomorrow my Xbox One X. I'm going to be doing some video coverage about it on the channel for you, and I wanted an external hard drive to use for any overflow games, and I picked up one of those myself. So not only do I share these deals, I only share the really good ones that I would be willing to actually purchase myself. So really good question, and I do appreciate it. So do tune in, everyone tune in tomorrow round about 8 AM GMT. And before that, sort of before the broadcast, I will be sharing out links to the best Black Friday deals over on @Geek Discounts as well. Darren Gator, how are you liking Android? Do you find the OS as easy, familiar as iOS? It's really not a hard transition. All of the apps, with the exception of iMessage and FaceTime, I have found alternatives to either the same app, exactly the same app, or I found a good or better alternative on Android. Navigating around it is fantastic. The only thing I found, and again this is my lack of knowledge, is when you get notifications about an email, I can either swipe the notification away, or I can go into the email app and have a look at the actual email and reply to it, or I can swipe in the other direction and archive it. I've got no option to swipe the email and delete it. It'll only go into an archive. Maybe that's a setting within the email app itself, but if anyone knows how to do that, that would be really, really helpful. And again, Darren also asks about, in another question, about finding enough apps, and I've found every single app that I need, so it's not an issue nowadays. Firestorm, I love playing movies and music loud on my PC. What speakers, subwoofer you think are great to use? This is not going to turn into a deals. This is not a deals broadcast. This is a Q&A, I know, but relevant to your question, of course. There was a Logitech, I think it was a I can't remember the model number, Z630 or a Logitech set of speakers which came with a subwoofer, a surround set of speakers, which had a ridiculous discount off, and I shared that on @Geek Discounts as well. For me personally, if I was spending my money, I really like these Tannoy Revolution speakers I've got on my setup here. They're really very, very good indeed. So maybe search out some of those. It really depends on budget again. These are like studio monitors, so these are really sort of uncoloured. They don't sort of give any particular characteristics to the audio. You just get true audio from them, which is really good for when you're doing video editing, and they deliver a nice low frequency as well. So I would take a look at these. These feature in my editing room tour video, which is available on the channel. So if you search up editing room tour Geekanoids on YouTube, you'll find a link to these in one of my videos. So that would be what I'd suggest. They perform really well, and as I mentioned before, Tannoy are the manufacturers. We've also got a question here from Deans. Can you also answer my question from Twitter? Yes, I remember this on Twitter earlier. Do we really need so-called 4K HDMI leads for our 4K TVs? Is there really such a thing? Right, this is a really good question, because it's a little bit of a controversial answer really. An HDMI lead carries a digital signal, so when you plug it in one end of your source device and in the other end of your telly, as long as the connections are made, so as long as there's no wires broken in there, it's either on or off. So there's no point at all in purchasing a really expensive HDMI lead. It will make no difference at all in the picture compared to a cheap HDMI lead. However, I do believe that you need a certain category of cable. It's much the same as when you look at Ethernet cables for networking. You've got like Cat 5, Cat 5e, Cat 6, Cat 7. I think we might even be up to Cat 8 by now. And all of those give you different speed through the cable. They also allow you to run different lengths of cable as well, and they have other benefits the higher up the cat range that you go. So it's very similar for HDMI cables. I do think you need an HDMI, I can't even remember the numbers and letters that come after it, but a 4K capable cable, but I certainly wouldn't spend more than about £10 on one. You can get all of these different fancy braided cables, ones that are meant to repel interference, and they might look nice, but it really makes no difference at all to the picture quality. Just make sure you get one that does support 4K, but don't spend a lot of money on it. It really isn't worth it. I also, before I move on to some more of these questions, and there are so many good questions, so thanks very much for all of the questions you're posting. I just want to show you a product that turned up the other day. I was going to save this because I've got a mega gadget collection video coming up on the channel very soon. This particular product, look, you get all the cables inside. So you get this is USB cable, you get the power adapter inside the box as well, with different tips for different countries. It's made by Lindy. Let me just show you the front of the box, and it's a 7-port USB charging hub. And the reason I wanted to get hold of one of these, and I wanted to show you as well, is because things are moving on with regards to USB 3, and this is a USB 3.1. So this will actually give you a faster data throughput, as well as offering charging through the ports as well. It works on Mac or PC. This is what the actual product looks like, and it's very simple. It's just a USB hub. So we've got the 7 ports across the front here, like so, and then on the back we've simply got a power on off, input for that power supply, and then the input for the USB cable that's supplied. Little rubber feet on the bottom as well, so it's not going to slip around. You know, it's a nice sort of steady unit. It is made of plastic. There's also LEDs, and I got this out of the box early in preparation for my mega gadget collection video next week, and I wanted to set one of these up just to see how it worked. And the reason this is good is because it's USB 3.1. So rather than just being USB 3, it will give you a slightly better data throughput. It's not Gen 2, it's not USB 3.1 Gen 2, which will give you even better data throughput. And something that I'm really missing, that I want a manufacturer to do, is a USB-C hub, because whenever you search for a USB-C hub on the likes of Amazon or Google in general, it gives you USB-C input, maybe power delivery, and then like memory card slot, normal USB-A slots, and then maybe a micro SD card slot or an HDMI socket. I want USB-C and then USB-C sockets along the front, all Gen 2, because a lot of peripherals coming out now are USB-C. In fact, I did a backup. The hard drive's over here somewhere, but I did a backup on my MacBook Pro, and that, of course, I used a USB-C hard drive. And also on the back of my iMac, just behind me here, I've got 2 USB-C Thunderbolt 3 capable ports, and I could do with another 2 ports on that. So anyway, back to this little hub. I'll leave, once this broadcast is finished, I'll leave a link down in the video description for you, so do check that out. Okay, let's have a look in the questions again. CJS Games, now that you have had the Rode NT1 for a while, what would you rate it out of 10? To be honest, I haven't used it that much. It is a fantastic microphone. For the most part, for my broadcast, I use the Rode NT USB, which is this microphone up here. I'm not going to tap it because that won't be good for the audio, but that's what I use for my sort of broadcasts. For my voiceovers, on occasion, I will sort of connect up the Rode NT1 into my Scarlett 2i2 interface, which is just under my monitor here. But a rating out of 10, it's so hard to give a rating. It just sounds so good. I wouldn't give it 9 out of 10 because there's always room for improvement, but it's got to be a good 8.5. Such clean sound from it. Really low noise floor on that microphone as well. Dean6571, aren't all HDMI leads compatible with 4K? They'll either work or they won't. This is why I said I'm not sure on all of the terminology for HDMI leads. I know an HDMI lead will either work or not, so it's like an on or off connection. But I have had issues with some cheaper cables that didn't say they were 4K capable, not giving me 4K 60 Hz. So there must be something in there that rates a cable as to being able to give a certain bandwidth of signal. But certainly, as I'll reiterate what I said before, don't spend a lot on HDMI cables. Find a good one up to about £10 and stick with it. Random Reviews asks what kind of mic you're using now. Yep, this is the Rode NT USB. MyDemv06, what was your first smartphone? I can't remember the model number. I think it was like a Nokia 3300 or Nokia something, or it might have been a Motorola. Might have been a Motorola flip phone. Can't remember the model number, but it could only do calls and texts, and the battery life was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic back in the day, because it didn't have to handle a colour screen or anything. No Wi-Fi. Wow. Memories of that. Sumu Naf, do you have any gaming consoles? Yeah, I have a PS4 Pro, and also adding an Xbox One X into the collection as well. The Xbox One X, I will obviously share my experience with you on this channel. Racing 5312001, can you recommend a dual SIM smartphone for under £300? I can't think of any dual SIM ones. I would look at the Motorola range, but I'm not sure if they're dual SIM, so I can't really help with that. Perhaps somebody else in the chat can chime in with a suggestion. Mr. K, Dave, what is your next watch purchase? Hope the Hulk Rolex is getting good wrist time. This was my most recent watch purchase. This is over on the Watch Lifestyle channel. This is a Squale 30 Atmos with a vintage type look to it. Really loving that. It's like I think it's called the Tropical GMT. So I'm really loving that. As for next watch purchase, I've really been looking at and considering something like a JLC, maybe a Reverso. But I'm really not sure. Because I've got so much else going on at the moment that I'm finding it hard to make a decision. I just want a really classy dress watch, and I think the reason I've sort of focused in on JLC at the moment is purely because I like the idea. So a JLC, I'm not wearing a watch at the moment, but I'll just try and demonstrate. A JLC Reverso has got a watch face on one side, and you can get one with either a watch face on the other side, so like a GMT or a second time zone, or you can flip it round and have nothing on the back, or you can flip it over and just see the movement. And the reason I'm drawn to it is because I see this a lot, you know, people having a conversation and they just say, oh, one sec, and you're talking to them and they're just, one sec, I've had a text in, but they don't often tell you what they're looking at. They just say, oh, text, and then they come back to you and start talking. Or you're talking to them and they're like, you know, yeah, swipe if it's a smartwatch. And apart from me finding that personally extremely rude, I like the idea, and this is why I'm drawn to the JLC, is that if you're meeting with somebody for like a business meeting, or you are going out to dinner, or you've just got a friend round and you're having a drink, or whatever the scenario, I like the idea, out of a sign of respect, and I've seen a few people do this, flip your watch face over so you can't see the time. Keep your smartphone in your pocket, and then your time is dedicated to them. And if they see you do that, if they see you flip it over, they know that they've got your full attention. And I think that is very, very respectful. And that's why I'm sort of drawn to that at the moment. It's very tempting, put it that way. But normally what I do with my larger timepiece purchases, something that's going to be like an investment for me, normally I don't do that until it's purchased to mark something. So for example, my Rolex Hulk, as it's known, was purchased to commemorate reaching 100,000 subscribers on the channel, as an example to you. And then I've had another few little purchases since then, and they're there to commemorate something, and I'm just looking after them. You know, they are mine, but I'm looking after them until somebody else can enjoy them as well. So they're not something that I'm gonna sort of have come in and then go out and, you know, like smartphones come and go, technology comes and goes. These are things that are gonna stay with me because I really, really love them. So we are 35 minutes into the broadcast. This is not sponsored, but for those of you asking or wondering, Ricola. Absolutely love these sweets, and they do stop my throat from getting sore during the broadcast. We've also got a question here from Random Reviews. How much did it cost? Please just let me know what you're referring to. We've talked about quite a lot so far. We've got Morgan Wright 123. Expensive audio cables are pointless as well. Gauge and length matters. If you put a cheap audio cable and an expensive one on an oscilloscope, you get the same signal. That is more true nowadays. I've got quite a lot of experience in actually like home cinema installation and home cinema gear. And the only thing with analog cables, like audio cables especially, is if you get one that is badly shielded and you put it next to power, and you do get some sort of interference. So if you run them carefully, then yeah, expensive audio cables are, for all intents and purposes, not worth buying. But if you want to really give that signal the best sort of chance of not getting interference on an analog signal, then it is sometimes worth paying a little bit more for shielding and the gauge of the cable, as you say. Darren Gator, will you be doing a Christmas gift buying video this year like you have in the past? Basically, I want to know if you'll be wearing the Santa hat. So Darren is a long time viewer. Hello to you, Darren. I might don the Santa hat this year. I'm really not sure. I'm sort of considering, and don't hold me to it, I'm not sure how popular it will be, but I'm thinking of doing a live Christmas video with a Christmas tree and possibly a helper, and give one of you guys the chance to pick a gift from under the tree. It's only an idea that's come into my head, and I'm not sure whether I'll be doing it. Maybe I shouldn't have mentioned it in the broadcast, but you prompted me. I'm just not sure whether it would be appreciated or popular. That's my thoughts. My thought process on that so far. Random Review says the hub cost. I haven't even looked at this hub cost yet. This is the Lindy product. If you check out this video after the event, or indeed you tweet me at Geekanoids, then I will look up the price for you, because I was just preparing this for a video next week. I will put a link to it down in the video description. I would imagine it's going to be round about the £30 mark, round about that sort of price. Dokesan64, wait for a new Mac Pro or build a Hackintosh. I'm really interested to see what the new Mac Pro is going to be like. I've seen some sort of renders of what people envisage it being like, or what they're hoping for, and if it comes out like some of the ones I've seen, like these sort of space grey cubes, wow, does it look good. Building a Hackintosh, you're going to get a lot more value for money, but what's always worried me about Hackintosh is obviously updates, and if something stops working, then you've got to troubleshoot it or roll back, and for a production machine that's probably a no-no. But if you can afford that downtime, then a Hackintosh is an option. For me, I'd probably wait for the new Mac Pro. Probably. But who knows? Who knows if I might buy something other than the Mac Pro. Bought something other than the iPhone, just saying. You never know. Chris Watson, hi Dave, do you have any recommendations for smart plugs to add to my smart home? I want them to work with Google Home OnePlus Nest plus Philips Hue? Yes, I do. TP-Link do some really cool smart plugs, very affordable as well. I think one of them's called the HS10. Again, if you tweet me afterwards, in fact, let me just see if I can find it now, because I can give you a link to it in the chat. And I've got these myself. I've got a couple of these already. So they do two. They do one with energy monitoring and one without energy monitoring. And if I give you this one, so this is the one without energy monitoring. So this is for you, Chris. This is the TP-Link. Check that link out, and they work really well, very well indeed. They work with an app called Casa, I think it is. Let me just have a look on my phone here. Yeah, there it is. That's the icon to the logo. It's called Casa, just there. I know you can't see that very well because of the brightness. There we go. That's what the icon looks like in this bottom corner here. Sorry, middle one, just there, Casa. So do check that out. That's what the app looks like, and it just works really well. And again, you can voice control that to turn it off and on. In fact, I use one of those in the studio. If you've seen my videos where I present videos in the yellow chair, behind the yellow chair I've got a plug. I just can't get to it, so I've put a smart plug in there. Ideal scenario for putting one, because then you can turn it off and on with your voice. Random Review says that watch on the back shelf shows minutes and seconds. This, you're referring to this. This I started this to time the broadcast. This is a Timebox Mini, and I could just feel. I got psychic powers. I could feel that one of you was going to ask what this is up here. In fact, I should be able to take this off the shelf to show you, because it's got battery power as well. This is a Timebox Mini. I've reviewed this on the channel, and I knew one of you was going to ask this. I put it up on the shelf to act as a clock, but you can also put a timer on it, and it just counts up, and you can put icons on it as well, and messages and notifications as well. And I knew one of you was going to ask what this was. Let me just pop it up there for now. And I put a link to this already down in the video description. So Timebox Mini, really good little product. It's just fantastic. I love it. And it's a Bluetooth speaker, so you can play music through it as well. Deepak Murthy, is the Pixel 2 XL worth double the price of the OnePlus 5T? In my opinion, no. I don't think it is worth double the price. Techzilla, when are you getting the HTC U11 Plus in? The HTC U11 Plus has only just become available a few days back to order in the UK, so I'm expecting it probably the first week of December. I didn't want to import one in, so I've got to wait, unfortunately, for that. Chris and Paul helping out with some suggestions for the dual SIM smartphone. Thank you very much for doing that. Darren Gator, speaking of gaming consoles, this is a really good question actually. Will you be getting one of the Atari Flashback consoles? Is it called the Flashback? I can't remember. There have been like little mini Atari consoles before, but there is a new Atari like high spec console coming out, and I've been getting press releases from the company with teasers on them, and it looks fantastic, and I will definitely try and get one in. I hope they don't make it limited availability, but I will definitely try and get one in, because one of my first consoles was a Grandstand games console, and it just had like 2 rotary dials on top, and it came with the little joystick controllers and the paddles, and you could like turn it round and play like one of 6 different games. Whichever game you selected, it was more or less the same game, just a slight variation of it. And it was awesome. I loved it. But one of my first real consoles was the Atari 2600. And I can remember playing Night Driver. I used to play that forever. And everyone else in my family, including my late dad, was not very good at it. and I would play Night Driver and like this and going in between the lines which marked out the road. Oh wow, great memories. But in answer to your question, I will try. The unexpected, when is the Anker Zolo Mojo speaker coming to the UK? This is a little speaker that's also a Google Assistant. I reviewed on the channel or featured it in a video a few weeks back. I think it's going to be available in the next sort of 3 or 4 weeks. It's definitely coming to the UK because I was sent a UK version, so there is a UK version available. So keep an eye on Amazon. It shouldn't be too long now. I think with Anker products as well, they become so popular that they go out of stock really quickly. You know, people jump on these good products and they just go out of stock. So you have to keep an eye on Amazon for them. Andrew Jackson says, are you scared that your YouTube revenue will go so low that you can't do this as your full-time job? What job would you do after if you had to change jobs? Well, YouTube revenue has been affected. It was affected, I think, about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, when they made changes to the algorithm. A lot of creators, not just myself, noticed this drop in revenue, and then we had problems with some advertisers withdrawing, and then we've had issues with some content being demonetized, and it has affected revenue. But, and this is the big tip for you, if you are either a content creator on YouTube or you're looking at becoming a YouTuber, is don't rely on one revenue stream. Worst mistake you can ever do. It's the same in any business, not just YouTube. If you run a shop, for example, and you've got a really great selling product in that shop, you wouldn't just go out and buy 10,000 of that product and hope that it continued to become popular. You would try and build on the success of that and have lots and lots of different product lines in your shop. And then if that product became unpopular, one, you hadn't got 10,000 of them and you weren't stuck with old stock, but you would have lots of range, and then you'd have lots of different revenue streams. And in addition to having the shop, you might also do sales online to generate mail order income. And then you might also, depending upon what you're selling, you might advise companies on products that are similar to the ones you're selling and the ones you're selling as well, so that they could incorporate those into your business. Perhaps you sell computers, so you would be advising companies how to do their computer systems and their networks as well as selling the products. So you'd have lots of different revenue streams. I do know a retailer that, as well as selling from the shop and online, they also sell a subscription model to some online security software, and that has a recurring revenue for them. So that's a really good example of something off of YouTube. Using myself as an example, my revenue on YouTube isn't all of my income. So I do affiliate marketing as well. I also do consultation with companies, and I also produce commercial videos, none of which you will see on my YouTube channel because it's for the company to use in the way they want to use that video. You might have seen some of my videos on Amazon without even knowing it, where you see the product photos on Amazon, and then some manufacturers or resellers have the little video there of the product. You might see some of them, if you listen carefully, you might recognise my voice. I don't appear in the videos, the product does, but you may well see some of my work there. So my revenue stream is split across multiple different platforms. So if YouTube revenue completely finished, yes, I'd be lying if I didn't say that wouldn't be disappointing. It would be very disappointing, and it would take a small percentage out of my income away. If it disappeared completely, it would take a percentage away, but it wouldn't be the be all and end all, because I've got those other revenue streams. And that's really good advice to each and every one of you. In whatever you do, always have something else. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. If I had to change jobs, so if I had to stop completely what I was doing, including all what I'm doing online, wow, that is a hard question. What would I do if I had to stop doing YouTube and affiliate marketing and consultation and video production? I'd probably be a photographer because I love photography. Or perhaps I'd be a watch dealer. No, I probably wouldn't. I don't think I could could do that. Probably a photographer. Anthony Kelly, when we go out to a restaurant, I make a point of telling my daughter to turn her mobile off. Yeah, really good point. Really good point. We do that during meal times as well. It's like, smartphones off. Don't have to say it very often at all. Raymond Moore, Dave, can you do a live stream in the studio room just to have new things to look up? Yeah, I am planning that. The MacBook Pro, which I'm currently just using to read your comments from, isn't capable of running the frame rate needed for 1080p streams. So I'm looking at an alternative to actually be able to do some live broadcasts from the studio. So that will happen in the future. Dean6571, random question, do you ever get recognised in the street when you're out and about? Yes, I do. It's very, very surreal, but I love people saying hello. The only thing I would say is when you spot me and you're thinking, is that Dave? Try and smile, because I have had people like really staring at me and I'm thinking, are they staring at me because they recognise me? Or is there something happening here? I'm only joking, but yeah, I love it when you come up to me and say hello, and I've probably been recognised over the past few years, probably about 30 or 40 times. One person called out my name and chased me down the road. I was already running. I wasn't running away from the person, but I was running to get somewhere and they were running after me. I also had somebody come out of a shop who saw me parking once and recognised me and came up and said hello and had a really good chat. So I also had somebody who didn't recognise me from the videos but saw me out and about with one of my Olympus cameras, and they really wanted to check out the camera I was using, and I let him hold it, take a few photos, and then he said, oh, what do you do? And struck up a conversation that way, and I earned a new subscriber the old-fashioned way. So that was cool as well. So really good question, Dean. I love that question. Just bear with me, because when I scroll the chat, it jumps all over the place. Top 40 hub, what are the speakers on either side of your monitor? I did cover this very quickly earlier on in the broadcast. These are Tannoy speakers. Really good performers as well. Robert Kennedy, Dave, have you ever used TP-Link or other brands of power line adapter? Is it stable enough on speed or ping? If you check back, again, if you search Devolo, DEVOLO, and then Geekanoids on YouTube, I just recently did one. In fact, let me just pop it in the chat for you. So yes, I've used TP-Link ones, I've used Netgear ones. These Devolo ones are the most recent, and they performed really well. So I'll pop that in the chat for you. This is my video of the Devolo power line adapters, and they work extremely well. Darren Shelley, where did you meet your missus and how long are you married? Would you recommend it? Would I recommend marriage? Most definitely. We have been married 21 years, and I met my wife whilst visiting the Philippines, and she was actually there just visiting as well, because at the time she was working in the United States, and I ended up going out to the United States, and I lived in New York for 3 years, and the rest is history. The rest is history, and a very happy and good history it's been, and a very happy and good future we got as well, because it is just fantastic. It's very rewarding. What I would say is that you just have to have a lot of understanding, be able to compromise and think about other people. If you've got that mindset, then I think that you will have a very long and happy marriage. And yeah, I would recommend it. I absolutely love being married. I really do. Life's Life. Hello, Dave. I'm so sorry I missed a few of your streams. I'm busy completing my UCAS personal statement for uni. I wrote that I enjoy following Geekanoids on YouTube for feed on the latest tech. That is awesome. absolutely awesome. And that UCAS personal statement is really important. I can remember going over my son's and my daughter's UCAS statements and just trying to refine it with them. So if you've got somebody that can go through it with you, do take that advice. I know a lot of schools will go through your UCAS statement with you as well, and just make it really personable. Not personal, personable. So put a lot of you into it, and about how passionate you are about extending your knowledge, etc., etc. I'm sure you will go far. Very best of luck with it. Deepak Murthy, would you recommend a curved monitor? Are LG monitors the best, or Samsung? Well, Deepak, I'm using a curved monitor here. I wouldn't recommend a curved TV, because I think once a screen is far enough away from you, you lose the benefit of that curve. I'm using an LG 38UC99, so it's a 38-inch curved monitor. I did have the 34-inch one before this, and because you're sitting quite near to the monitor, having the slight curve to it means that you're not looking at the far sides of the monitor off axis. It's bringing it back into the axis of your vision, and I think it works extremely well. And I've got so used to this, I prefer the high resolution ultra wide screens as opposed to getting a 4K screen. So I really do like them. Haven't tested the Samsung one, so but this has served me well. Touch wood, it's going to keep on running because I absolutely love it. We've also got here Morgan Wright saying YouTube revenue has especially been affected. Any channels that are political, advertisers pulling out, etc. There is seemingly a lot of censorship. Yeah, I totally agree. There is a lot of issues with adverts being pulled. David James, will you be getting the HomePod in for review or unboxing, Dave? It's been delayed until next year. I'm sort of glad they delayed it. Glad they didn't rush it out, so that's a good thing that we've had that delay. And yes, I do intend to get one in to review on the channel. Atil 1972, hi Dave, what is it with you and Apple? Obsession or anything else? I grew up actually experiencing the very early stages of when consoles first came out, when computers first came out, when the Amstrad PCW 9512 or 9256 was the thing, and then I moved on to Ataris, the 520 and the 1040 STFM and the 65XL, so many different computers. And then I really fell in love with Amiga computers, and in fact that was one of the first businesses I ran, was an Amiga magazine, and I loved my Amiga computer. And then I learnt about Apple, and one of my very first Apple computers I actually purchased from Harrods, and it was on a buy now interest free thing, which made it affordable or attainable, and I took the risk and got it. And I absolutely loved it. And ever since then, I'd always used the Apple Mac operating system or platform. I had to support, in a couple of my roles, I had to support Windows PC, so I had an understanding of that as well. But I just really loved the simplicity and the elegance of the Apple ecosystem, and that stuck with me. I wouldn't say it's an obsession, I just appreciate it. Fallen out of love with iOS, as you probably know if you watch my videos regularly, and my only other obsession really is timepieces. I love watches. That's one of my real obsessions, and I do share some of that over on my other channel. But really good question, absolutely love it. So we're going to take a few more questions and then actually finish up on the live broadcast. So we have got Life's Life. Is anyone in your family a network engineer? If so, what advice would they recommend before applying for a networking job? Well, I said I was only going to take a couple more questions. This could be a long answer. If you weren't aware, one of my jobs when I was younger, this was probably around about 1999, 2000, about 2001, something like that. I was an IBM network engineer. I used to go into banks primarily. We were working on a particular contract, and I used to go in and install a new system for them, along with my work colleagues as well. It wasn't just me. And we used to patch in all of the system, and then we used to leave it there for a couple of weeks while they underwent training on the new system, and then we'd go in and take out the old legacy system. That was installing, I think it was Windows NT and back office systems as well. So a lot of patching on these big cabinets with all of the various switches in, and it was a really great job, and I liked it so much. I worked at that for probably about 2 or 3 years for IBM, and then I became an auditor, and that was it was really nice that I'd been promoted. But being an auditor wasn't as much fun as actually doing the installations. What an auditor involved was me actually going out and inspecting the installations, and if things weren't really tidy, then I would tidy them, or I would report them. I'd make sure everything was labelled up properly, or if anything had been missed, I would talk to the various bank managers. I would check the phone lines, etc. were all working correctly. I would take their feedback back as well, and report on how the installation team had performed. So it was still interesting, but it wasn't as much hands-on as doing the actual installs. And I think the main advice I would give you is pretty much the same advice as I give for somebody who wants to become a content creator, is to do something you're passionate about. If you're passionate about it, then you take pride in your work. So if you want to become a network engineer, obviously study hard, really keep up to date, read lots of papers, like if different reports come out on new technologies, make sure you read them and try and retain that information. But moreover that, take pride in what you do. So if you're installing things and you do a really neat job, and you're polite to everyone around you, and you understand and respect other people's space while you're doing these installs, you will go far, and whatever company picks you up will pick up on your passion. So you go that extra mile, they go that extra mile to keep you in that company. So fantastic question. I assume that's what you're going to be studying, and I wish you every luck on it. I really do. Darren Gator, will Milo make it into a live broadcast? Probably not. He's not well behaved enough. Raymond Moore, Dave, how was your university life? Were you a diligent student? I was a good student, but I wasn't given the opportunity to go to university. It just wasn't something that came up. When I was coming towards the end of my O-levels, as they were known then, we did CSEs and O-levels. When I was coming towards the end of that, I was actually approached for a job because I'd shown an interest. I'd contacted lots of local companies to really see if I wanted to continue in educational work, and I was given a job at Ordnance Survey, and I took the job in Ordnance Survey instead of going to university. I went to college and did some RSA studies on various things to help me with my keyboard skills, but I went straight into work. So we will take one more question. Andy Roworth, interesting, ex-IBMer. I wasn't aware of that. Which location? That was in Warwick. So it was in Warwickshire that I was actually based when I worked for IBM. So that is it for this live broadcast. I can't believe an hour has flown by just like that. Thank you very much to all of you for tuning in. I really, really appreciate it. I love doing these. I love taking all of your questions, and I hope I've answered as many as I can. Again, please do check out this video when it goes live on the channel in about half an hour. You can watch back your favourite bits, or indeed if you want to check out those links down below to the couple of products I showed you. Also, don't forget to tune in tomorrow. It's the Black Friday deals videos tomorrow, and then at the weekend I've got another really awesome pair of headphones to share with you as well. So I'm doing a broadcast on Saturday as well. So have a fantastic day wherever you are. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you next time.